Okay, get ready, because today we're looking at a story that's going to completely rewrite what you thought you knew about ancient human capability. Welcome to This Explainer. We're uncovering a mind-blowing, entirely true story of ancient engineering that was hidden literally in plain sight. I mean, we're talking about a discovery so monumental, so impossibly massive, it completely defies belief. And honestly, the craziest part? The whole thing was just sitting right under some guy's house.
Real quick, just a historical disclaimer before we dive in. What we're about to discuss, well, it sounds exactly like a Hollywood movie plot. It really sounds like pure fiction. But these events are absolutely 100% true. And by the time we're done here, you might just want to go inspect your own basement walls. For sure.
Section 1. The Great Chicken Chase. I know, it sounds absurd, but this is genuinely the inciting incident for one of the greatest archaeological discoveries in history. Let's just smash cut right into it.
Seriously, I want you to put yourself in this very specific situation for a second. Where do missing chickens go? Imagine you're a farmer. You're just doing your daily chores, right? And you suddenly realize some of your livestock is gone. Your chickens have seemingly just vanished into thin air. So you start searching the property, checking every nook and cranny. You are literally just looking for a lost farm animal, and you accidentally stumble onto the impossible.
Which leads us right to the year 1963. A Turkish farmer in Derinkuyu is doing exactly that, just looking for his missing chickens. He traces them to this weird gap in his basement wall. Frustrated, and probably just wanting his birds back, he grabs a sledgehammer and just knocks the wall down. He wasn't looking for treasure, he definitely wasn't an archaeologist, but with one swing of a sledgehammer, he punches a hole straight through history and uncovers this massive forgotten world hiding in the dark.
Section 2. A 25-story underground metropolis. We got a pivot right now from a missing chicken to the absolute staggering scale of what was hiding behind that wall. Because this is Derinkuyu, the largest underground city ever discovered. 1963. I mean, think about how incredibly recent that is. For thousands of years, empires rose and fell, modern cities were built, the world went through industrial revolutions, 2 world wars, and this absolute megacity was completely unknown to the modern world. Nobody knew. Not until a guy with a sledgehammer stumbled upon it in the swinging 60s. Crazy, right? So let's talk about the sheer depth of this thing. 280 feet. That is how far down into the earth this city goes. Our farmer didn't just find a cave or some hidden storage room. He found a sprawling metropolis buried 280 feet straight down into the bedrock. To put 280 feet into perspective, 25. Imagine a massive, modern, 25-story high-rise building. Got it? Now, totally invert it. Flip it upside down and plunge it directly into the ground. That's the sheer size of the structure we're looking at here. But here is the most shocking metric of the whole shebang. 20,000. This wasn't just some tiny survival bunker for a few elite families. No way. This ancient secret metropolis could house up to 20,000 people, all at the exact same time. Think about an entire modern-day sports arena's worth of people all living 25 stories beneath the surface. It's wild. Section 3. Iron Age Urban Planning. Because right now, you're probably asking yourself the obvious logical question. How on earth do 20,000 people live 280 feet underground without, suffocating, freezing, or completely losing their minds? Let's get into the actual mechanics of survival.
When you break down the Derinkuyu floor plan, it reveals this absolutely genius vertical logic. Take the upper floors, for example. That's where they put the livestock. Why? Well, to keep the smell away from the human living quarters, obviously, but also because heat rises. The body heat from the animals would naturally drift up and help warm the entire structure. Clever, right? Then, in the middle floors, you had everyday human life, homes, and even schools. And finally, way down in the deepest, safest levels, they carved out ritual chambers and wine cellars.
But okay, heat and space are just part of the giant puzzle. What about the absolute basics, like air and water? If you compare a standard water well to what they built down in Derinkuyu, it's literally night and day. They engineered a spectacular 180-foot deep well system. This wasn't just, dropping a bucket down a hole. This was highly sophisticated infrastructure.
Actually, you can think of these massive shafts as the ventilation lungs of the city. They circulated cool air, delivered fresh water, and literally kept the entirely buried city breathable. Without these 180-foot lungs, survival down there would be mathematically impossible. They were mastering airflow thousands of years before anyone even dreamed up modern HVAC systems.
Section 4. Masters of the Deep. So, who actually built Derinkuyu? Let's answer that burning question of who carved out this massive labyrinth and exactly when they pulled it off.
If we look at the timeline, the story stretches back way further than you'd probably think. Many experts believe it was the Hittites, around 1600 BC, who started digging those very first levels as a secret defensive refuge. Centuries later, the Frisians took over and essentially went full Iron Age engineering on the place, vastly expanding it. We get our very first written mention of it around 370 BC, and then it just goes dark, completely lost to the world until that lucky accidental rediscovery in 1963.
And we really have to remember, the whole point of this city was protection. It was a subterranean defense refuge. They carved out intense security measures. We're talking miles of deliberately confusing labyrinth tunnels designed to totally disorient invaders. They even engineered these massive, heavy, hidden stone doors to roll across and seal off corridors. This was a highly protected vault, designed to keep an entire society safe from whatever war or chaos was raging on the surface.
The absolute crucial takeaway from all of this can really be summed up in one quote from the source material. Smart doesn't begin to cover it. When we think of ancient people living in caves, we tend to picture, well, primitive setups. But Derinkuyu completely shatters that stereotype. This was ancient underground urban planning that was literally thousands of years ahead of its time. It wasn't a cave, it was an organized, breathable, functioning 25-story inverted skyscraper.
Which leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to wrap up our explainer today. If a 25-story underground city, capable of holding 20,000 people, was just hiding behind some farmer's basement wall a few decades ago, what else is buried right under our feet? Seriously, next time you lose something in your basement, maybe take a closer look at the stones. Thanks for joining me to explore the astonishing true story of Derinkuyu. Stay curious and keep learning.